Grace Hartwell blocked my car in the parking garage and asked the one question I had spent 6 months running from.
"Why are you avoiding me, Alex?"
She stood there with her arms crossed, briefcase in one hand, eyes fixed on me like she wasn't leaving without an answer. The concrete garage felt colder than usual, the air heavy. I stared at my CEO, the woman who hired me, the woman I had carefully avoided since my first day at Hartwell Industries. "Because seeing you hurts," I said. The word surprised even me. "I'm Alex Morrison, a senior analyst on the 4th floor. My desk faces the wall, not the windows, because I asked for it that way. Before this job, I was a paramedic for 8 years. I saw blood, sirens, broken bodies, and broken families. I left that life because I needed quiet. But quiet doesn't erase memories. For 6 months, I avoided Grace like my life depended on it. I checked the executive parking area every morning. If her car was there, I used a different entrance. If I saw her in the hallway, I turned around. Once, I hid in a supply closet for 15 minutes just to avoid passing her. My co-workers thought I was strange. They weren't wrong. Grace was a good boss. Everyone said so. Smart, fair, hardworking. She took over the company after a family tragedy and made it stronger than ever. She remembered names, birthdays, details. She smiled easily, and that smile was the problem. That morning I heard fast footsteps behind me. I walked faster. Then I heard her voice. "Alex, wait!" I pretended not to hear, fumbled with my keys. My car was 10 feet away. "Alex Morrison," she said sharply, "I know you can hear me." I stopped. "Running from your CEO in a parking garage is not a smart move." She stepped closer. "You've avoided me since the day you started. 6 months of walking away, changing routes, refusing to look at me. I want to know why." "I'm focused on my work," I said. It sounded weak. "That's not true," she said. "You act like being near me causes you pain. What did I do?" The wind moved through the garage, hollow and cold. I looked at her face, really looked at it. Hazel eyes. The way she tilted her head. The shape of her smile. Things I had seen before. On the worst night of my life. "Because seeing you hurts," I repeated quietly. Her expression changed. Confusion replaced anger. "What does that mean?" I tightened my grip on my briefcase. My hands were shaking. "You really want to know?" I asked. "Yes," she said without hesitation. 4 years ago, I was still a paramedic. It was a rainy Tuesday night in October when the call came in, and everything changed. 4 years ago, I was still working nights as a paramedic. It was a Tuesday in October, raining so hard the road looked like glass. My shift was almost over when the call came in. Car accident on Route 17, head-on collision. Multiple victims. I arrived 8 minutes later. Police lights flashed red and blue through the rain. The smell of gas and burned rubber filled the air. One driver was already standing outside his car, drunk and bleeding but alive. The other car was crushed. She was trapped inside. A young woman, mid-20s, auburn hair soaked with rain, hazel eyes wide with fear. Her work badge hung around her neck. Hartwell Industries. Grace went still beside me as I spoke. The fire department worked to cut her out, but it took time. I climbed halfway through the broken window and held her hand. I told her my name, told her she wasn't alone. She kept trying to be brave. She asked me to call her sister. She kept saying your name, I said softly. "Grace." Grace's breath caught, but she didn't interrupt. The woman made me repeat the phone number back to her over and over to make sure I had it right. She said she was sorry she was late, said she loved you. I told her she would be fine. I told her the doctors would take care of her. I said everything we're trained to say, even when we don't know if it's true. They got her out. We loaded her into the ambulance. She was talking, stable, still asking about you. Then her heart stopped. I started compressions right away. Perfect rhythm, perfect depth. We did everything by the book, everything right. It wasn't enough. She died in the ambulance, holding my hand. Grace was crying now, silent tears running down her face. "Before she went," I said, my voice breaking, "she asked me to tell you something." I swallowed hard. "She said to tell you she loved you. She said she wasn't scared. She made me promise I'd tell you." The garage felt unbearably quiet. "I rode with her to the hospital," I continued. "Then I waited. When they told you she was gone, I saw you fall apart." Grace pressed a hand to her mouth. "I wanted to tell you what she said," I whispered. "But I couldn't. And I've carried that broken promise ever since." I looked at her. That's why I avoid you, because every time I see you, I'm back in that ambulance. Grace stared at me through tears. Alex, she said quietly, I knew who you were the moment I hired you. Her words hit me harder than anything else she had said. You knew? I asked. Grace nodded slowly. I knew your name, I knew your face, I knew exactly who you were. The parking garage felt like it was tilting. Then why, I said, struggling to breathe. Why hire me? She wiped her cheeks with her sleeve. Because I needed answers I never got. She told me how my resume landed on her desk months earlier, how everything looked normal until she read my name. Alex Morrison. She said she stared at it for 20 minutes, unable to move. I went home and pulled out the accident report, she said. The one I've read 100 times, and there you were. Paramedic Alex Morrison. I clenched my fists. I called your references, she continued. Every one of them said the same thing, that you were good, kind, reliable, that you left emergency work suddenly and no one knew why. I looked down. I couldn't do it anymore, I said. Every patient looked like her. Grace nodded like she already knew. I hired you because I needed to see the man who held my sister, she said. I needed to understand who you were. I thought if I watched you work, maybe I'd finally find peace. And instead, I said bitterly, I spent 6 months hiding from you. Yes, she said softly. And I spent 6 months thinking I scared you, that something about me made you uncomfortable. She took a step closer. I didn't blame you, Alex, not once. I never blamed you for Emma. My chest tightened. Then why does this feel like punishment? Because grief is cruel, she said, and because somewhere along the way something changed. I looked up. What changed? She hesitated, then met my eyes. I stopped seeing you as part of that night, and I started seeing you as you. My heart pounded. I noticed how you help people, how you work through lunch, how you sit alone in your car every day, and somewhere in all of that I started to care. The air between us felt charged. I think, she said quietly, I started falling for you. Before I could respond, the elevator dinged behind us, and everything shifted again. A man stepped out of the elevator behind us. He wore an expensive suit and carried himself like he owned the place. His smile was polite but cold, the kind that never reaches the eyes. The moment I saw him, every instinct from my paramedic days woke up. Ms. Hartwell, he said, I've been looking for you. I'm Lawrence Pierce, attorney for the defendant in your sister's case. Grace stiffened beside me, her hand grabbed my arm hard. I don't want to talk, she said flatly. I'm afraid we need to, he replied. Your sister's case is up for parole review next month. You have the right to give a statement. I said no, she snapped. There's more, he added, glancing at me. A formal complaint has been filed with the state medical board. My blood ran cold. Against the emergency response, he continued, specifically the paramedic on scene. I didn't need him to say my name, I already knew. They're blaming me, I said quietly. Yes, he said. It's a legal strategy, standard procedure. Grace let go of my arm and stepped forward. Medical negligence, she said, her voice shaking with anger. You're blaming the man who held my sister while she died? Ms. Hartwell, please, the lawyer said. We're just following process. No, she said sharply. You're protecting a drunk driver by attacking a good man. Tears ran down her face, but her voice stayed strong. Alex did everything right, she continued, everything. My sister wasn't alone, she wasn't scared, that matters. The lawyer shifted uncomfortably. I'll note your position. Do that, Grace said, and tell the parole board I will speak. I'll make sure they know exactly who is responsible for my sister's death. The lawyer nodded and walked away. The garage was silent again. You didn't have to defend me, I said. Yes, I did, she replied, because I won't let them break you too. She turned to me, eyes full of pain and strength. I see you now, Alex, she said, and I don't want to run anymore. Neither did I. After the lawyer left, neither of us spoke right away. The silence felt heavy but not empty. It felt like something had finally cracked open. I still see her when I look at you, I said quietly. Every time. Grace nodded. I know I see her too, in you. I frowned. How? You were the last person to care for her, she said. That connects us whether we want it or not. I looked down at the concrete floor. That connection feels like a wound. Wounds don't always mean damage, she replied. Sometimes they mean healing hasn't finished yet. I let out a shaky breath. I don't know how to be close to you without feeling like I'm betraying her. Grace stepped closer, slow and careful. I don't know how to care about you without feeling the same fear. She paused, then said, but maybe Emma isn't something standing between us. Maybe she's the reason we understand each other. That thought made my chest ache. I punish myself every day, I admitted. I work late, I stay alone, I avoid anything that feels good. I do the same, Grace said. I hide behind work, behind this company. Being the strong CEO is easier than being the sister who lost everything. She reached out and rested her hand lightly on my arm. I didn't pull away. Seeing you hurts, she said softly, but it also reminds me I'm still alive. My voice broke. What if we get closer and it destroys us? Then at least we stopped running, she said. At least we tried. I looked at her, really looked at her. Not just Emma's sister, not just my CEO. A woman who had carried grief as long as I had. I'm scared, I said. So am I, she replied, but I'm more scared of staying like this forever. Her hand stayed on my arm, warm, real. Let's take it slow, she said. One honest step at a time. I nodded. For the first time in years, the weight on my chest felt lighter. Okay, I said, one step. The days after that morning felt different. Nothing dramatic changed on the outside. We still worked in the same building. She was still the CEO and I was still an analyst on the 4th floor. But the way the air felt between us shifted. Grace stopped avoiding me in meetings and I stopped pretending she wasn't there. Sometimes our eyes met across the conference table and neither of us looked away. There was pain in those moments, but also something steady. We didn't talk about feelings right away. We talked about work, about reports and deadlines, about small things that felt safe. But underneath every word was everything we weren't saying. One evening she found me in the parking garage again. This time she didn't block my car. Coffee, she asked. I hesitated. Old habit screamed at me to run. But I remembered what we said about stopping. Yeah, I said, and coffee. We sat in a quiet cafe a few blocks away. No suits, no titles, just two people trying to breathe. She loved rainy nights, Grace said suddenly. Emma, she said they made the city feel honest. I swallowed. She talked about you a lot, I said. Said you worked too hard. Grace smiled sadly. She was right. We shared memories. Small ones. Painful ones. Some nights we said very little. Other nights we talked until the cafe closed. The medical investigation started. Papers arrived. Calls came in. I expected Grace to pull away. She didn't. She stood beside me through every step, through every question, through every reminder of that night. You're not alone, she said more than once. One night, as we walked to our cars, she stopped. I'm still scared, she admitted. Scared this will fall apart. I am too, I said. She reached for my hand. But I don't want to face it alone. I squeezed her fingers. Neither do I. We didn't kiss, not yet. But standing there, hands linked, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. The investigation ended quietly. No negligence, no violations. Just the same conclusion that had been written 4 years ago. A drunk driver caused the accident. Nothing more, nothing less. When I read the final notice, my hands shook. Not from fear this time, but from release. A weight I had carried for so long finally loosened its grip. Grace was with me when the email came in. She didn't say anything. She just wrapped her arms around me, and for the first time, I let myself lean into someone else's strength. The parole hearing came a month later. Grace stood in that room and spoke clearly. She talked about Emma, about love, about loss, about accountability. She didn't mention me, but I felt her words in my bones. Afterward, we walked out into the sunlight together. I thought this would hurt more, she said. It still hurts, I replied, just differently. We took things slowly, carefully. Some days were heavy, some days were light. Some days we talked about Emma. Some days we didn't need to. The first time Grace smiled at me without sadness behind it, my chest tightened. You okay? She asked. Yeah, I said, I think I am. One evening, months later, we stood in the same parking garage where everything began. The place no longer felt cold. I used to think seeing you hurt because it meant I failed, I said. Now I think it hurt because I wasn't ready to live again. Grace stepped closer. And now? Now, I said. It still hurts sometimes, but it also feels like healing. She reached up and touched my face. Her eyes searched mine, careful, honest. Are we allowed to be happy? She asked softly. I thought of Emma. of her last words, of love. Yes, I said, I think we are. Grace kissed me then, slow, gentle, like something precious, seeing her still hurt. But it also reminded me that life didn't end in that ambulance. It kept going, and so did we.